Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. I have no idea what the COD gods have been smoking lately, but they must be on that good stuff because wow, what is going on lately in the Call of Duty world? I've never seen more Game 5s than this in my life. What are the COD gods on? Or is Vanguard literally just a coin flip game? Regardless of that old situation, some madness today at Major 4. So many implications of this one for World Championship qualification, but also of course the Major itself, right? Many teams already eliminated. So much to dive into today. Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. Let's crack right on with things. Some early series, of course, just to mention this before the day even begins, actually. Reminder, attach Priestahh and Slashers, their champs attendance streak that have been going on for some of these guys for quite some time could well end today. We'll see how that goes, of course, here in a few minutes' time. I'm going to leave the LAG versus FaZe match for tomorrow because, look, with all the Game 5s, it's got rather late already. We'll talk about that one tomorrow, so I'm sure you guys will be commenting down below if that one went a particular direction. But, I mean, yeah, look here, the crowd was honestly immense. This event has been all day long. Honestly, like, the venue looks spectacular. But speaking of FaZe, this is the first series they played of the day up against the Paris Legion. And this was honestly, I was like, okay, surely after watching this game one, where pretty much Paris, the only map they're even like remotely sometimes good on in Hardpoint is this Bocage. So like they play it against everyone, even if the team they're playing against is very good, like FaZe on this particular map. They play it against them. And in fairness, FaZe's Hardpoint lately has been pretty shocking, but they win this one relatively comfortably. And I was like, okay, surely there's no way that FaZe don't win this like 3-0, 3-1 maximum. And it looked like they were going to do it because Paris like had so many 3v2s in their favour in the surge. They threw practically all of them away to give FaZe a 3-1 edge, and then all of a sudden FaZe decided, okay, if you guys want to choke, we can choke just as hard, no problem at all. And they threw away loads around, getting first blooded all the time. Eventually, I'm pretty sure it goes round 11 and Paris clutch up and actually take it to a game 3 with a tied series. FaZe win this though, as you might expect them to, and then somehow Paris managed to lock down a game 4. Like honestly, FaZe's hardpoint has been seriously suspect lately. If you're losing a map like this to Paris, 250-235, for some reason their final rotation over there towards the P1 on the Tuscan is absolutely atrocious at hardpoint. So don't know what FaZe are thinking on that particular situation. They've lost it a few good times now in a similar situation, and Paris are the latest team to take advantage of it. So from a series where after map 1 it looked like it should be done and dusted, Paris somehow take us to a game 5. But to me this felt like a foregone conclusion, man. The amount of series that Paris have lost game 5 this season, like as Clay says, the most Vanguard thing ever, if Paris somehow pulls through. Doesn't happen though. This is a crucial moment here where Jimbo and Temp line up. If they'd have got the kill on Cellium here, might have been a rather different game. But Celot finishes 12-0 in the final map, 1.63 KD over the course of the series. They just demolished Paris on the final map, right? As Temp says, GG's FaZe, GG's Vanguard, they're out of here. But I'm pretty sure that now means that Paris lost 8 game 5s this season. I don't know if they won any. They might have won one, like out of the 2 series that they won. But yes, 8 game 5 losses. If they win all their game 5s, could have been a very different season potentially, but yeah, unlikely. It still must be said. But I mean, yeah, for some reason they just have no ice factor when it matters. So Paris season is over. They went 2-23 this season, a new CDL record. Congratulations, only 2 wins on the season. I wonder who they're going to pick up next year to try and break their record and drop the donut, right? But next season they're going to be Vegas. They're no longer going to be Paris next year. It's going to be the Vegas Legion. The 13 loss streak they ended the season with. Shame there wasn't more games really, so they could put that loss streak a little bit further. That's going to be even harder to break in future seasons. Maybe Paris or Vegas Legion as an organisation can get the job done. But yeah, Cello 1.63. They just got outside off the face of the earth. It's pretty ugly to look at. Let's talk the second series. This was absolutely immensely important for the context of the entire tournament. Los Angeles Guerrillas versus London. And this, honestly, if you were to predict the way this series went, I was thinking it was going to be a Game 5 LAG victory. If I had to predict which maps, like which way the maps were going to go, I would have said very different to what actually happened in the game. So somehow, LAG win both hardpoints here. This has been London's bread and butter. They've been dominating teams like Guerrillas consistently in very similar situations. But London's hardpoint just looked very flat, like Zero and Afro, especially individually, just really didn't particularly come to play. I mean, look, everyone talks about Gizmo's stats and the difference between his stats on LAN and online, which are very starkly different. Nasty, I think, is actually a significantly better player, but it's interesting really to me that London, I really thought coming into this event that they might have finally got over the hurdle of being just an online team. But again, not the case at all. They do win the search and destroy. They then take the control in ridiculous fashion. They went up 2-0 after winning an offense. They then just completely throw away one of the rounds. Then they clutch up like an impossible round. It goes round 5, and then they get the offensive victory as well to take the maps. I mean, they're super hyped. Afro's hyped about it as well. Finally, they win a control, and surely this has been the big talking point about London, right? They're so good at hardpoints that if they win a control, that should be job done. But Vanguard says no, and Los Angeles Guerrillas, man, they bounce back very nicely. They win the game 4, they take it to a game 5, and Slashet, man, I'm telling you, every single time, I don't know what happened in the FaZe series, it might have been a different story. Slashet, I'm sure, can't just take over every series forever, but when you put this guy in a back against the wall situation, on LAN, online, doesn't matter, but on LAN especially, he's just going to turn up and deliver the goods. I mean, a monster series right here, Slasher again. Game 5 had so much damage. Like his actual search and destroy KD in stage 4 so far, after that series was a 1.66. He's dropped 10 kills in 5 of his last 7 search and destroy maps. That's pretty absurd. He effectively just did it all for the team towards the end of that game. Got 3 kills, I'm pretty sure, in the final round to close out the series, because London, I think, were down 5-1. Then it was 5-3, and then Slasher clutched up with a big couple of kills. Close out the series. No highlights for London Royal Ravens this tournament, right? And that's the thing. The number 1 seed for this event, I'm pretty sure, comes out. They get top 12. Like, that's just how it goes. But London, we know they've been suspect on LAN. I thought this was the event to prove everyone wrong, but I know they lose 2 game 5s, can't clutch up. Their hardpoint kind of falls off a cliff in the Los Angeles Guerrillas series. That would have been a massive one for many teams that wanted LAG out of the World Championship. If LAG lose that series, they're out, but they've still got to win that FaZe series, which will have already concluded if they want to still qualify for the World Championship, right? And even Grazen, Adam Adamu from the Toronto Ultra, was throwing some roasting on London, saying the London Royal Onliners since deleted, but yeah, thought that was rather funny between the two organisations, because Ultra don't tend to have that problem on LAN. Slasher, I mean, Neptune honestly deserves credit as well. He was like incredibly impactful in this system. Takes a bit of time to get used to, I suppose, but they do look better. And Slasher individually at 1.33, especially his search and destroy, has been pretty monstrous. Let's talk about another massive series then. I mean, honestly, the amount of game 5 is just absurd. Boston versus the Seattle Surge. This initially Crim7, Crim6, like he was wearing a Boston thing, and Crim kind of gives him some stuff to try and wear some New York merch. I'm pretty sure he still had the Boston stuff on later in the day. But yeah, here we go, game 1. Boston decided to chow Seattle on this one, which is probably a good idea, to be fair. You've got Nero, you've got Vivid, but the problem is that Seattle have Pred, and this map is just his absolute playground. It's ridiculous what he does. I think he was about even in this game, like 15 and 15. You look at the scoreboard at the end, he's like 46 and 28 or something. He just had a monster takeover performance. But Boston Breach bounced back in the search and destroy. This is really it where, like, Seattle Surge, that search and destroy used to be kind of a bread and butter for them. It's fallen off a cliff, to be honest, losing 2 searches in this series. This game 2 as well, like, you know, Sid was trying his best, but Vivid just hops on the defuse, gets it regardless, doesn't matter for them. Game 3, though, does go the way of Seattle Surge. Money Hill stats with some nice graphics on this one, right, to end up being, okay, 3-1 in their favour on the Tuscan control. And the game 4, this is really where Seattle will feel like they should have closed this one out. They had so many great chances to do it. They had a couple of opportunities to break this hard point, but Boston, honestly, they clutched up. They held strong. Everyone died. It was a bit one by one, bit staggered, honestly, from Seattle Surge. Definitely not fundamentally sound. Pred was 37 in 26 again, just incredible amount of impact. Doesn't matter, though. Boston Breach clutch up when it matters, take it to a game 5, and they win the game 5 in honestly dominant fashion, right? It did seem like the mental collapse came through to a certain degree. Boston, I've been kind of, well, questioning their clutch factor in game 5. Wasn't a problem here. I mean, Seattle Surge, man, the champions, like, what is honestly going on with this league this season? The champions of last stage out in Major 3, they're out in top 12. Accuracy with the 0-8 donut game 5. That's well, obviously going to weigh on his conscience a bit, because accuracy was such a key driving force behind their search and destroy prowess, and lately, like, he hasn't really been there to the same degree. So there's a big question that Seattle have to answer as we go, well, into the World Championship, but also to next season, as to what this team decides to do. Because, I mean, look, Pred's an absolute superstar. Sib certainly can be as well, but this result has been coming for a few weeks now. We've seen it kind of, well, progress and trend in this direction, and of course, X is not afraid to throw the dagger in as well. Blip, 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 blip on the radio, effectively saying that, you know, the victory that Seattle had at Major 3, the victory that Los Angeles Guerrillas had at Major 2, just effectively irrelevant for the entire season, right? So X's take here obviously paid off rather nicely. I feel like at the time, X was not necessarily correct. Like, Seattle were playing incredibly well when Mac was at a good level and when accuracy, search and destroy was good, but, like, you know, obviously as Vanguard, things can fall off, things can change over time, and now they're certainly not in that ballpark, right? So maybe it's an X kind of thing where he says, okay, I'm not wrong, I was just a bit early, but I thought it was quality that he had this tweet already prepared. But yeah, Seattle Surge out, Pred 1.34 for the loss, 123 kills over the course of the series. That's tough. Sib actually had the most damage in the lobby, and yeah, I mean, accuracy and Max statistically did pretty alright here. But I think it really came down to that game 4 that they'll feel like they certainly should have won, and their search and destroy kind of, as of late, falling off a bit of a cliff. And here we go then, the final series we're going to cover in this video, OpTic versus the Minnesota Rokkr. Such a massive one, right? Could OpTic actually start a losers bracket run? Would Minnesota Rokkr have a chance to go to the World Championship? Would Attach get his slice of the pie? What would happen in the search and destroys? Because, of course, inevitably, it was going to be a game 5, wasn't it? But, I mean, look, the crowd was going absolutely electric. I do love this venue was just so good for this type of crowd. Just the way the acoustics work, I'm sure, is spectacular. Honestly, being there must be, if you guys are there right now, let me know in the comment section below how you're enjoying it. I'm sure it's been a phenomenal day. And it's still only Friday, to be honest. We've still got 2 more days of this action in the next couple of days. Look at this guy as well, the Minnesota Rokkr fan. He's doing his best to kind of rile up the crowd, because not just the OpTic fans there, of course, but also the fact that the New York fans wanted Minnesota Rokkr to go out as soon as possible so that they wouldn't get any more points, right? And that's one team that isn't going to go to the World Championship. That is how it ends up going, but honestly, like, unbelievable how we ended up getting there, right? Minnesota Rokkr win game 1. Pretty emphatic, actually, here on Bacage. 250-186. Don't often see OpTic gets kind of schooled on Bacage like this. It was really kind of that second rotation that OpTic fell short, but they do bounce back here in the Search and Destroy, and this is kind of where we kind of see that Minnesota Rokkr's roster change maybe wasn't the greatest idea. Getting rid of Major Maniac, like, I can't imagine a Minnesota Rokkr team losing both Search and Destroys in a critical series if they have Major Maniac in the team. I feel like that doesn't necessarily happen, but in this series, that's exactly what happened, right? And OpTic Search has been good lately. I think it's been looking better the last few days or so. It's their control, which is still pretty suspect. They get over the line in this series, though, but certainly they will need to improve if they want to keep this losers bracket run up. But yeah, Illy was making plays, this nice little two-piece as well to help close out that round. They end up winning the map pretty emphatically as well, even though almost the turn from Illy, but they do line up a little bit for Priestahh. We might have seen that one before from OpTic, but it doesn't affect them this time. They just about close out the map, got a bit suspect for a time, 6-4 in the end. OpTic tie up the series at 1-1, going into a control where they really need to start winning these controls, right? And Shotzzy on an individual level, we've talked about it in the last few weeks, like, Shotzzy needs to step up, and game 5, he had his moments. But in this control, again, you really feel like he's going rogue a bit, maybe too often, right? We've got Havok making some nice plays here, and yeah, Shotzzy was just having generally a pretty hard time this series in a lot of the respawn play, even map 4 as well. It was a very similar story before OpTic turned it around. Those shots as well from Havok were absolutely superb. He was playing great this series, right? People are going to talk trash, and when he kind of, was talking a little bit of trash himself during that game 5 after a nice couple of plays in the early rounds, but he does deserve to gas himself up the way he played. But yeah, it doesn't work out for them, of course. Goes game 4, and OpTic honestly clutched up. I was really impressed by OpTic here because they were looking kind of down and out. They were down by 50, kind of the latter half of the first rotation going into the second rotation. It wasn't looking particularly good. They strung together 2 big hills. Like, this seems like kind of the OpTic that can actually, like, they're actually capable of doing something, right? Because the OpTic we've seen in the last few weeks, put them in a clutch moment, they're going to fall short. They're kind of getting back to that level now where they can go down a bit in a hard point, stay composed, and actually bring it back, which is kind of one of the critical features they had earlier on this year. OpTic win the game 4 Gavutu, send it to a game 5, and that's the thing, Minnesota Rokkr, like, they're so bad in respawn generally. They somehow win 2 against OpTic here, so I think OpTic is certainly going to need to improve. But like, their Search and Destroy, man, Rokkr's bread and butter Search and Destroy is where they fall down. Honestly, I thought it was incredible that even on Friday here, yes, of course, a massive game for many reasons, but we got to 100k again on the viewership side on the live stream, so thought that was a really good positive signs actually going into the end of the season, especially when we've got 2 more days of this fantastic event to come. And as Clay says, just to kind of solve the situation, a Vanguard Classic, grueler of a series leading up to a game at 5 Bacage. Couple of technical delays. Eventually, it does get underway, and well, this is how it goes early on. Havok was frying in the first couple of rounds. He stood up a little bit. He was trying to talk some trash. I don't really blame him, but like, look, when it backfires, it doesn't look so good, because the same thing happened to Standy yesterday when he was talking trash to New York, gets reverse swept on. Havok stands up and tries to give a little bit out, and then it doesn't work because, well, at the end of that, he just lost 6 rounds in a row, as did his team. 2-0 up to 6-2 down. This is a critical round here from Dashi. Also, I think it was a 2v4 that Shotzzy managed to win with a crazy ace as well. So Shotzzy was making plays, Dashi was making plays, Attach didn't quite get here long enough to get scum off the defuse. I was just impressed really the way OpTic played this in general, because they've been really questionable to me on this map, but they come up clutch game 5. The crowd, of course, I'm sure was very much behind them, as you can see there in the venue. But yeah, this is massive for OpTic. They've never placed top 12 as an organisation in their history. Huntsman, even OGLA, if you even want to count that as OpTic, they never placed top 12, even though they placed top 8 a couple of times. But there was only 8 teams at those events at the home series back in Modern Warfare, some of them. But yeah, OpTic Chicago last year, their worst placement was top 6, so OpTic certainly didn't want a top 12 after starting from losers, and they needed some sort of confidence building run. This might be just the start of it, and yes, 6 straight rounds for OpTic. They clutch up here when it matters. Minnesota Rokkr dropping them out of the tournament in top 12, and that means that Minnesota Rokkr will not be going to the World Championship. Only 140 points, 20 points away from the cutoff as it stands at the present time. Rokkr are out of there, and I must say I do feel bad for Attach. I think he's played lights out this season. I feel like it's really disappointing for him on an individual level that he's not going to go to champs, breaking his streak. But look, the team, the organisation just didn't make great decisions. They kept Standy, Priestahh, questionable move, I think, keeping those guys when there were other options out there. I do feel like Havok was a good pickup, but their respawn didn't improve drastically, and their Search and Destroy, they lost that kind of clutch factor. They had when Major Maniac was there, right? So I did say a few, maybe too harsh words, calling this team the most boring team in the league, but I do generally feel it, right? As a European fan, Minnesota are the ultimate time torchers. They send every series to game 5 just for the sake of, I don't know, destroying sleep schedules or something. The personalities outside of Attach aren't really there as an organisation. It's pretty boring in general, so look, I'm not the biggest fan of Minnesota. I think they can turn things around next season, but they've annoyed me enough already this year, so I'm kind of happy to see them gone. To be honest, I don't have to suffer any more of their bloody game 5 series through the rest of the season, but But yeah, I do feel bad for Attach, man, and the rest of these guys not making the World Championship. But yeah, just bad decisions on an organisation level. They're going to need to do a pretty big rebuild, I think, for next season. Definitely, I'm sure we shall be discussing what they might well do next year. These are the overall stats, especially with the 1.22. Shotzzy definitely does need to play a bit better though, right? Because certainly in the control as well, and in the respawns, wasn't looking so good. Clutch shot when it mattered though in the search and destroy, and that is what takes him through this series. Havok played well, despite the unfortunate end from his perspective, and that is going to do it for today. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.